Hello my loves, it's JEN-nuh-nee and welcome back to my channel, The Story Ain't Over. It has been a very, very long time since I filmed a vlog, and a lot of things were happening over the last couple of years, but this is the year that I am really going to be prioritizing YouTube, content creation, and all of the things that I've always wanted to do, including writing. And the reason I mentioned this is because this is my first vlog of 2025 and it has two themes. It is a romance reading vlog and I will be reading a bunch of romance books in the lead up to Valentine's Day. I'm also hosting a galentines party with my girlfriends, which I'm really excited about, and that's going to be next week. And the other exciting thing you'll get to see during this vlog is me breaking up with my full-time job. The past 6 months at my full-time job has been a real roller coaster, and a lot of things have happened both professionally and personally, and I just went through it a bit. And at the beginning of this year, I just came to this clear realization that this isn't what I wanted to be doing and that I wanted to focus my energy on the things that really fulfill me. And I also didn't want to continue with the level of burnout that I've been feeling over the past 5 years as I've been working and also doing YouTube on the side. This is not me trying to say that everyone needs to quit their job for their passion, because I honestly think that's absolutely unrealistic. And even me right now, I'm freaking out because this is very, uncertain and scary. But I think for me personally, it was time. However, I was someone who really believed that having a full-time job really mattered, and having that steady paycheck is a really significant thing. And for many years, I was not in the position to, be banking on unsteady income from content creation and YouTube, and I needed that stability, and my full-time job gave that. So I'm very happy that I stuck with the multiple jobs that I had, over the many years, but I think this is now a new era for me and for my channel and for all the things that I want to do. So I'm very excited. So I gave my notice to my job earlier this week, so I have another full week and then I have one day after the long weekend in Canada. So this vlog will be spanning that entire time as I read these romance books, as I break up with my full-time job, as I say goodbye to my coworkers, and as I celebrate the women in my life with my Galentine's Day party. Hopefully this vlog will be fun for you guys because you'll get a glimpse into my life and how it's changing and more of my regular routine, and we'll also get to talk about some really amazing romance books. With that said, let's talk about the books that I'm going to be reading on this vlog. So I have started the first book, which is Sweet Vengeance by JEN-nuh-nee. This book is a demon romance, which I just thought was so interesting, and I actually grabbed it at the romance bookstore The Ripped Bodice, the new location in Brooklyn, when I went to New York last fall, and I've been just so excited to pick this up ever since then. And I read the first chapter a couple days ago and really liked it, because this is actually a bit different than I initially thought it was going to be. It involves this woman who basically has gone through sexual assault, she's been raped, and she finds herself wanting to take revenge on this person, and so she summons a demon to help her take revenge. And she knows how to summon a demon from her aunt or something. It's a little vague on the details at the beginning, but honestly I don't care, because I am just so intrigued by this concept. And obviously she starts to feel some feelings for this demon, and he seems like an interesting character as well. You can probably guess from the cover, but this one is a smutty romance, so I'm very excited for all of that. And it is a short one, so I think it's going to be really quick. Okay, the second book that I have is The Roommate Risk by Talia Hibbert. I really love Talia Hibbert's The Brown Sisters trilogy. It was a phenomenal romance series, and I've been meaning to read more of her books since reading those. And I honestly don't know when this book came out, but I did grab it from The Ripped Bodice as well last fall, so I've been hyped to pick it up since then, and I think it's gonna be really cute. And can we appreciate this gorgeous cover? So cute. And then I have Between Friends and Lovers by Shirlene Obuobi. I've heard a lot of great things about this one, but I honestly don't know anything about it. And I do think it is a little bit more on the fiction, lit fic side than just romance, but I might be wrong. That's just the vibe I'm getting from the cover and from the fact that it is blurbed by Emily Henry. So we'll see. And then I have The Breakup Tour by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. This one came out last year, I believe, and I got it immediately, but I just never got around to reading it. And from what I remember, this was a second chance romance, so I am very hyped for that. And I also remember the author saying it was kind of an ode to the Swifties, so I'm very intrigued. The same two authors have another book that comes out on February 22nd of this year, and I actually got the arc of this book. It's called Book Boyfriend, and I honestly don't know too much about it. I want to kind of keep it that way, but I'm assuming assuming it involves, you know, books and bookishness, which I think is just so perfect and the perfect type of romance that I want to be reading right now. And I was lucky enough to get an e-arc of this one, so I'll be reading from that copy, and depending on if I enjoy it, I might grab the final as well. And then of course, to round out this TBR, I will be reading Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I'm so hyped for this. I love Ali Hazelwood's books. This is her new sports romance, and from what I've heard, it also involves like kinks and BDSM, and I'm just really intrigued to see how this goes. I've so far heard only amazing things, so I'm really hyped for it. And I was gifted a complimentary copy from Libro FM of their audiobook version, so I am listening to that. I listened to it while I was doing my makeup today, and it's already so fun. I'm like a few chapters in, and essentially our main character is like a diver. She's been through a very traumatic injury, and she has a friend who is sort of dating, I think, the main love interest, and there's this talk about how he likes, you know, BDSM and kink, and the friend is not into that, and I don't know where, like, these two are going to get together with like the friend in a way, so I'm very intrigued. Although the audiobook is going great so far, I do want to grab a physical copy just because I really like Ali Hazelwood's books and I have all of her other books. So I will be going to the bookstore later today or tomorrow to grab the physical copy because it also has sprayed edges, which I'm just so hyped for. So yeah, I will take you along for when I go grab that copy as well. Those are the books. I'll update you once I'm further into Sweet Vengeance and Deep End. Hello, my loves. It is 10:15 on Saturday, February 8th. Good morning. I did my skincare, got up, I'm having my coffee, and I have a video that I need to edit within the next couple of hours to go up at 12, which I am already behind, and it's fine. But I need it to go up today because I am publishing my very own short story that I've written, completely original work from me that I'm just so freaking excited about. Anyways, I have to edit the video where I announce that whole thing, and it's like short books so you can read it in a single day if you haven't seen it yet. But before that, I wanted to give you an update on this vlog. So I read a couple chapters of Sweet Vengeance last night. Honestly, I didn't get too far because I just couldn't focus. I kept going on my phone. I really need to work on that. It's the ADHD, but it's also the fact that like I recently got an iPhone and I'm just like really excited about content creation. So I've been watching so many Instagram reels and TikToks and stuff of things that I want to do. But regardless, Sweet Vengeance, it's starting off quite good. I am liking the vibe. It's very smutty. It's very lustful. I like that the initial plot is surrounding her getting the demons help to terrorize her rapist. And she's not just gonna like kill him right away. She's gonna like kind of torment him first, which is so funny and like interesting to me. Although I really love the lusting after each other, one thing I'm not super liking is just the sort of reactions and like the catchphrases that the main character and like the narration has. They both often like in their heads are saying, you know, my stomach settled with like heat or with desire, like something like that. And the main character has like an actual catchphrase where she says delicious whenever like something goes her way or she's happy about something, which is such a weird phrase. And she even points it out in the book that it's weird, but she says it anyways. Like if someone said to me, oh, JEN-nuh-nee, your short story is getting published, and I said delicious, like so weird. Anyways, those are my initial thoughts. I'm gonna try to read more of this after I finish editing. I have to do my makeup at some point, so I will listen to the audiobook of Deep End while I do that. And then after that, I'll probably just sit and try to finish this. But later tonight, I am going to a wine bar with some friends for a friend's birthday. Really excited about that because recently I just have been having a lot of plans with like the girls and my friends, and I just really love it. It's just so wholesome and like fills me with so much joy just to be around the women I love in my life. And I'm very excited to celebrate my friend. And then one thing that came up yesterday, which I'm super excited about, is that I signed up for a romance writing workshop on Monday. It's Monday evening. It's being run by one of my friends, Leanne Toshiko Simpson, who you may remember as the author of Never Been Better, which is this really amazing sort of rom-com-ish, you know, contemporary fiction about a main character with bipolar disorder, which if you didn't know, I have bipolar disorder and I love reading books that have that representation and just getting to know more people's stories dealing with the mental illness. So yeah, I really loved her book. And recently, as you guys know, I've been trying to get into writing again because yeah, that was part of the transition of leaving my full-time job, giving myself the real time to actually write. And you know, honestly, I have wanted to write like every single genre ever. I've had story ideas for lit fics, for sci-fi fantasies, for romances, and I just want to flex that muscle a lot more. So I'm going to this workshop. It's going to be really fun. I also have writing sprints with Hannah from A Clockwork Reader. We have started this new like writing sort of partnership thing where we send each other our stuff, and we also do writing sprints on Mondays. So I'm going to be doing my writing sprints with her a little bit earlier on Monday in the afternoon so that I can go to this writing workshop in the evening. But it's going to be super cool because it's going to be hosted at a bookstore, and it's a bookstore that doubles as a wine bar and a coffee bar, which just love. I just love so much. I've been there a few times. I haven't properly like sat there for a while, which I really want to do, and I'll probably do more of once like I'm done with my full-time job because I'll have more time during the day. But yeah, that's another like romancy Valentine's Day themed thing I'll be doing this week, so I'm just hyped.
My headspace, been weaker, it's been waiting for the right day. Like the right day ever comes, now it's Friday, and nothing's changed. Mistakes that everyone is making, but I can't change. I'm stuck in reverse like an old Benz. Forgot to tap it up. Now I long for another day where things fall into place. So if you're down, I'll be down. Pack your bags, fill them up. We can go tonight, take a flight to a higher ground. How does that sound? How does that sound? So strange, why it always feels like it's too late. Waiting another year, it's too late. But that's not true.
But then support.
It's not strange to quit another job cause it was raining. To try a different road though it's been fading.
Those are the love
In
stories
your
that
mind,
I am the most.
cause of time. Now I long for another day where things fall into place. So if you're down, I'll be down. Pack your bags, fill them up. We can go tonight, take a flight to a higher ground. How does that sound? How does
I love the writing routine, so
Let's
it's
start over. Let's start over. Let's start over.
I'm like, yes, I'm fine.
Oh, I love that. It was just something I later.
Over, let's start over. I know the next morning when the sun goes out, it might be the
ready?
last day.
Cheers!
You're lying next to me with heavy eyes while I shiver inside with a heavy
Living my
heart.
dream.
I know what I've
Doing my
done,
Valentine's dream.
and I'm too afraid to let it go. If I could, I would turn back time. If I could,
Extra
I would
gold
take
bracelet.
it all back. If I
No.
could, I would bring back all the memories, not yours, only in my dreams. Oh, if I could.
I love the purple lip. Georgina. Done.
Okay. I absolutely hate that I am the biggest klutz to grace this planet. Anyways, so yeah, last Saturday I went out with a couple friends for one of my friends' birthday. We went to a really cute wine bar, so that was really fun. And then this past week, as I said, I was going to do this whole Galentine's thing, and it turned out so freaking cute. I really wish I had filmed like more clips and more, B-roll of me actually prepping. I like made so much stuff. I made Cinnabons. I made like these love letter pies that I saw on TikTok. I made cocktails with raspberry sorbet and some like pink champagne. And overall, my friends really enjoyed themselves. I made like little stations. I got them little goodies and treats, and I also set up like the charms and the bracelets for the bracelet making. And bracelet making was so freaking fun. I am so glad I did it. I thought it was going to be way more complicated than it actually was, but it was actually quite easy. Everyone took their bracelet home and just had a really great time. And then we like played some games. I had like music playing on my projector, and I just loved the vibe. Like, we did it in my condo's party room, and it turned out really nice. So I definitely want to do that again. And yeah, I saved like a bunch of the supplies from the, day that I bought from like Dollarama or HomeSense or whatever. So I can definitely reuse them next year if I host another Galentine's, or I can reuse them for some other like event or thing. I definitely want to do more hosting. I just loved it so much. It was so much fun. And it just makes me so happy, getting to hang out with my friends and just like do fun, cute things and chit chat and just have a good time. I feel like these girlish activities that I've been seeing on TikTok just make me so happy. I don't know. There's just something about doing like little cutesy activities with the girls that is just so nice. So yeah, Galentine's was a huge success. So happy with how it turned out. It is February 16th. I did so much reading yesterday. I'm so proud of myself. I got through about half or more of Sweet Vengeance. I'm liking this one, but I do find it on the cheesier, weirder end. It's obviously a demon romance, and it's also just got like mostly the relationship stuff and not so much of the other stuff. Like, there is a character development element, but I just feel like it's not super fleshed out. And then I know this is self-published, and I'm like realizing the little tics that like bother me, like typos or just like repetitive language, I would say. This author really has a crutch for writing the word literally in like a lot of sentences, which when someone's speaking, it's okay, but like when I'm seeing it written, it does start to bother me. However, otherwise, this is fantastic. I love the main character. I love the demon character. I love the like very enthusiastic consent, going on. There are some very smutty, sexy scenes in this, but I am finding my like interest waning in this one. And this is my thing with like romance sometimes. Like, if there's not enough going on outside of the romance, I find myself like starting to wane in terms of interest, even if I do really like the couple. And then I also decided to start Book Boyfriend on my Kobo. This is by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, who are the authors of the Breakup Tour, which I need to read, but I have this e-arc of this book, which is coming out, I think, in March, but my e-arc is going to expire soon. So I was like, ooh, maybe I should jump on this first. I definitely don't think I'm gonna finish all of these books in this vlog. I was very ambitious with that. However, I do want to get through as much as I can within this like next week. I'll probably extend this vlog into like a few days after I leave my job. But this one seems really intriguing so far. Basically, the main character works in publishing, and she's really into like smutty fae books, which is just like really obviously meant to be a stand-in for like ACOTAR fans and that kind of thing, and romantasy fans. But the book starts with her boyfriend coming to break up with her and bringing all of her stuff, and they basically have like this, very awkward and like mean conversation with each other, and she already knows that he's gonna break up with her because she's kind of expecting it. And his problem with her is that she is too stuck on like these, fictional men in books and will never be satisfied by a real man. And she's just like, why is it that, men in real life can't even do the bare minimum? Like, are these things really that hard to do? So it was a pretty interesting like opening, and I'm really liking it so far. I'm only a couple chapters in, so I definitely need to get into it more, but I'm excited for this one. I feel like it's poking fun at so many things in like the book community, and I feel like it'll be a really interesting thing to see how it plays out. And I also wonder if like other people in the book community will enjoy it in the same way. Who knows if I'll even enjoy it by the end. But yeah. Also, look at how I decorated my Kobo the other day on Valentine's in the morning. So cute. And then of course, I also read more of Deep End by Ellie Hazelwood. Guys, This is going so good. I have like, I think 100 pages left and 2 hours on the audiobook. I started listening to more of it on my like daily treadmill walk, and I was just so engrossed. And like I said, my partner was reading this and he was like ahead of me, but I started reading like with the audiobook and the physical copy last night after my treadmill walk, and I was like zipping through the whole thing. Like I got through so much in like the span of a few hours, and it just speaks to how well the audiobook helps me focus on like eye reading. And this has been full of so much craziness, and there's like so many smutty scenes, and honestly I really enjoyed them. Like even if it's not like particularly my thing, it was really fun and interesting, and I love like the tension and sort of the character work. Like I think that's what I really like about Ali Hazelwood. Even when things get really smutty or whatever, her characters are really believable or just really interesting, and I'm just so invested in them as people. Like I love Luke, and I love our main character, Scarlett. Even if they have like, you know, their tendencies or their flaws, I still really enjoy them as characters, and I just want to see them succeed. Like even aside from the smut, I'm invested in whether Scarlett is going to make that, you know, inward dive. All of that. So yeah, enjoying this immensely. I feel like this might be one of my favorite Ali Hazelwood books. It's like on par, I think, with Love Theoretically and Not in Love. Like I'm really liking her more recent ones because they're less cheesy, they're more smutty, but they're also just like a dynamic that I like a bit better. Like they're less tropey, I think, which is fun. And I love how self-deprecating our main character Scarlett is. So yeah, curious to see how it's gonna end. I feel like this one feels a bit different from some of her previous books. Like she always has like this mentor character that kind of like turns on the main character in a lot of her previous books, but this one doesn't have that. So I'm intrigued. I also realized super late that there was a cameo from the characters from The Love Hypothesis in this book. Like they are in the book multiple times, and it just like didn't process the names because it's been a while since I read that book. So that was also a really nice treat. Probably gonna try to finish this today because I only have like a couple hours left, and I can probably like blaze through it, and I just want to see what happens next. Also, can we appreciate the like water damage over here on the book when I dropped this in the snow, when I fell over in the snow the other week? Aside from that, it's a Sunday. I need to get my life together, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of like content planning and just figuring stuff out, and hopefully whipping through Deep End, Sweet Vengeance, and then getting a little bit further into Book Boyfriend, and hopefully I'll get through more of them tomorrow as well. One thing I wanted to say was, I know I was talking about how like, you know, I couldn't read because I can't relax. And I feel like yesterday I got through so much reading because I intentionally told myself I need to relax. Like you need to relax. You need to just chill. And it's okay if you don't answer your messages or your emails or go on your laptop today. I don't even think I opened my laptop yesterday. And it was just so helpful. And it helped me really just get in the zone to read, and it actually made things more enjoyable, which was just super nice. Hello friends, it's the next day. I made some excellent progress yesterday. I finished Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. More to come on this. I did not get any further on Sweet Vengeance, but I will be trying to finish it today. I read like a chapter more of Book Boyfriend, but honestly wasn't feeling it so much. We'll see. I may or may not continue with this one. And then I also started Between Friends and Lovers by Charlene Obu-Obi. I started this on the audiobook while I was walking on the treadmill, my daily treadmill walks. I had finished Deep End, and so I decided to start this. And I am loving the audiobook. I am listening to it on Everand. I've been a longtime user of Everand, and so I always like turn to it first when I'm trying to find a book that I want to listen to the audiobook for. So I listened to this while I was doing my makeup this morning, and I'm about 6 chapters in, which is exciting. It's going really well so far. I feel like I've seen so many people recommend this one recently, and I was actually sent this by the publisher, I think in 2024. So thank you so much to Avon and William Morrow Books for sending this to me. I am loving it so far. I feel like the main character is super relatable. She like opens with, you know, often like women of color, Black women in, you know, professional settings or just really any settings have to sort of minimize themselves to not come off as aggressive and intense and come off the wrong way to other people or to white people. And I was like, yes, I feel this so much, especially just like coming out of a corporate environment, breaking up with my job. Yeah, I was just feeling a lot of it. And I also just loved like the random Grey's Anatomy reference that was like thrown in here where she's like talking about the best friend that she's been in love with, and she says, I wish he would like pick me, choose me, love me, which is a line from Grey's Anatomy, and I just loved the reference. It was so great. So really enjoying this one. I'm gonna continue reading it for the rest of the day probably, or throughout my day. I did so much like bindery work last night and I was like up late, but it was so worth it because I feel like I got ahead on a lot of things. So yeah, if you haven't, joined my bindery community, you can join as a free follower. And if you're subscribed to the emails and like, you're a free follower, you will get access to the monthly publishing updates that I just created, where basically I just like break down where each book is at and what's happening and what's coming next. Very high level updates. So if you're interested in like hearing more about my publishing imprint and what's going on, but you can't like support monetarily, this is a great option. And I would really, really, really appreciate it if as many of you as you could join. Do that one thing. Just hit follow on my bindery community, add your email, and sign up, and then you'll get the emails whenever I post something for your tier. I'm also in the process of like revamping all of the tiers for my bindery community, so I'm very excited about that. But with that said, let me tell you about the other books that I've been reading. So Book Boyfriend, I read another chapter, and I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like it's just a little bit too tropey, I think. Basically, the main character works in publishing and she is like obsessed with these fantasy books, and they're very much meant to be a stand-in for like the ACOTAR series by Sarah J Maas, or really any romantasy series, but it feels particularly like A Court of Thorns and Roses and that whole series. So there's this element of her like being this huge fan, and I think although it's like funny, I feel like it's meant to be more relatable versus satirical, which like I think is my problem because I am not one of the ACOTAR girlies. And while I understand them to a certain extent, I feel like I don't quite relate. And I feel like this is meant to be more relatable than like poking fun at this whole situation, which I kind of wish it was, but it's a romance book, so we'll see. I feel like I need to give it like more of a chance and like read a few more chapters before I like fully decide how I feel about this. But I have liked the roughest draft by these authors before, and that one was a little bit more on the serious side, and maybe that's why I liked it a little bit more. This one just seems a little extra. I don't know how to describe it. But the main character is funny, like her narration is hilarious. The male love interest isn't super interesting to me right now, but her voice is like really fun. So I think I'm gonna stick with it for a little bit and see how things go. Okay, let's talk about Deep End. So I finished this last night. I finished it while I was on the treadmill, and I had like an hour-ish left of the audiobook. So yeah, it wasn't very much, but I definitely feel like I flew through this one. It's a really like thick book, but it didn't actually feel that long, and I think the audiobook definitely helped with that. If you didn't know, the audiobook is also narrated by like two different narrators, so there's one for like the main character's voice, but anytime a man speaks in the book, it's actually narrated by the male narrator. Even though the male characters don't have any like POV chapters, anytime they speak, they are narrated by this man, which I thought was like interesting. So you do get like the voices like switching, and you don't have the issue where like the female narrator doesn't really like get the voice right all that well. So you get more of that like effect and like that masculine voice, which was nice. Now, before I tell you all my thoughts on this, I posted on my Instagram a call for people's opinions on this book because I feel like it's a hot topic right now. So many people are reading it. It's super popular. Ali Hazelwood is super popular. I personally love Ali Hazelwood's books. Like, I've loved almost all of them. Her earlier ones were definitely more cringe, but her recent ones have been like some of my favorites, including Not in Love and Bride, and then this one. And I have to say, although this one was different, I feel like she did so many things so well. But before I go in depth into my thoughts, let's see what some of you said. Okay, one submission says, I'm 41% of the way through and I'm really enjoying it. I don't get the claims that this book has cheating. That's an interesting point. So basically, if you don't know the premise of this, it follows our main character Scarlett, who is a diver, and then the male love interest is a swimmer, and his name is Lucas. And Lucas has been with this other diver named Penelope for like years and years and years. They're like the it couple at Stanford, and they're all like athletes and whatever. But their relationship has been fizzling. And at the beginning of the book, Penn is kind of confiding in Scarlett and her other friends about how Luke is into kink, BDSM type stuff, mostly just the power dynamics, and how she's not into that, and how their sex life has been like suffering, and she doesn't know what to do. And Scarlett, being someone who's into that and who was with someone who was not into that, decides to like give some advice to Penn, and then they end up in this like funny situation where like Penn gets drunk and then suggests to Luke that he should be, fucking Scarlet. And this was after, though, the two of them had broken up. This is within like the first few chapters, so this is not really a spoiler. So yeah, I don't really see how this is cheating because they're broken up. The one thing that did bother me was the fact that Pen and Luke don't really like tell anyone that they broke up, and so everyone like is assuming that they're still together, which plays into like the conflict later on in the book, which I feel like was a little bit unnecessary, but I'll get into that. Okay, let's see some other submissions. Loved it, haha. Didn't like it, intriguing. Someone said, I haven't read it, but should I? I think yes, and I'll explain why. One person said, I was surprised he was in a relationship with the BFF, but I liked it made for more angst. Yeah, that's a little bit fair. I think it made for an interesting situation. I mentioned this before, but I feel like Alia Hazelwood has like this crutch where in each of her books, there's like a mentor character that sort of betrays the main character. And in this one, we didn't have that. But as soon as there was suspicions about Penelope, I was like, this is not going to go well. And obviously like the whole setup of them not like telling people about the breakup was what also led to this. I know when I started the book, I also was surprised that he was with the BFF, and I wasn't sure how that was going to work. And I thought it was going to be like some sort of open relationship situation, but they did actually break up. So I kind of like that, and I like that Pen kind of gave the green light. It's just she was having her own like personal issues and things going on that caused her to react the way she did towards the end. But even then, it was like a conflict / non-conflict, though I do think that Pen is like sort of prone to these like tendencies, but I like that she wasn't like fully villainized either, so that was kind of nice. Another submission said, I really like the characters and their backstories, but I did not enjoy the flow / situations much. Interesting. That's honestly fair. I feel like there was a lot of like exposition, like a lot of things are happening and a lot of time passes in between like each of their encounters and them like hooking up and, you know, the relationship overall. I also feel like if you're not into like the power dynamic thing in this, especially with like the smut scenes, it might not be for you. But again, I feel like you can enjoy it without being into that as well. Overall, my thoughts on this was that I really enjoyed it. It was like one of my, you know, more favorite Alia Hazelwood books. I still don't think it beats out Love Theoretically for me. I think that one remains my favorite of her books, but this was still really, really fun, and I enjoyed a lot of aspects to it. The smut scenes were fun and interesting. I liked the open outlook on the kink and like how it wasn't sort of like psychoanalyzed too much, and it was just accepted as like a preference. And I think it worked well with these characters. Like I liked the dynamic between them, and I think they had a lot of like romantic tension and chemistry, and I just liked Luke as well. I loved like Luke's brother Jan, and I loved like all of the side characters, to be honest, a lot this time. I feel like these side characters were a little bit more vivid than some of her previous ones. I feel like she's been getting better at writing side characters, and that's been really nice. I also just liked the whole aspect of like the diving and the swimming and the competitions. I didn't think I would be interested in that, and I've never really been into like a sports romance, but this was fun. I was like invested in, you know, Scarlet trying to make that inward dive and trying to win and all of that, so that was cool. And I liked that we were like kind of exploring what they were going to do next after all of this. That was also interesting to me because it kind of made it feel like this was like a high school book, because they're talking about what they're going to do after, and it felt like they were like going into college, but really they were in college going into like real world life, but they were going to like try med school and all of that. So it was interesting in that way. But that's not to say that this felt juvenile, but it definitely wasn't the same vibe as some of her other books. Like it definitely had that very college vibe to it. Aside from that, I think there are some scenes that were like a bit intense. I didn't particularly like the scenes where the power dynamic came on the heels of like a really emotional exchange. There was one closer towards the end. Spoiler, there's like anal sex. That was fine, but it did kind of catch me off guard the way the scene transitioned into that encounter, because they were having this sort of like argument or emotional moment, and I get that it was like sort of meant to play into that, but to me it felt very like anxiety inducing. So I think it really depends on the person you are and also the things that might trigger you. So I would kind of go into this a little bit wary if you can be triggered by sexual, you know, things, or if you've ever experienced any kind of sexual violence or assault. I feel like the power dynamic thing can amplify things in a weird way that like might be triggering. For me, that scene was a little bit, but otherwise it was great. I loved it. I also really liked that Luke was like so unapologetically like into her and was like kind of no nonsense about how he just cared for her and how he wanted it to be something more. Like he wasn't really trying to play games except for at the beginning with the whole like denying oneself. That was weird. Another thing I also liked was just the way that Scarlett starts to realize that there's so many aspects of Luke that Penn didn't know, and that Penn had made like all these assumptions about him based off of their sort of strange friendship relationship and how he wasn't able to actually like be himself with her, and that's part of the reason why she perceived him the way that she did. And I found that really interesting. Overall, really fun. Not my favorite Ali Hazelwood book, but still really good and up there. I think I would still give this like a 4.55 stars. Like it was so enjoyable. I was like ripping through it once I got into it, and yeah, overall like super enjoyable time. So yeah, definitely fulfilled all of like the vibes that I wanted for like a romance reading vlog for a smut. This is definitely her smuttiest book, I will say. Like there's so much more sex in this one, even more than like Not in Love, I would say, which also had quite a bit of sex, but this one had way more. Okay, so that's deep end. I have like 1,000 things to do. I have to film some bindery videos, and then I'm going to get back to Between Friends and Lovers. Tomorrow is the last day at my full-time job. It's Tuesday. Today's Monday, but it's family day in Canada, so we have a holiday. So that's why I'm just chilling. Though I say chilling, but like I'm doing work. Anyways, I'm having a little bit of the Sunday scaries about going into the office tomorrow and just dealing with people and saying goodbye and just wrapping things up. But it's fine. It'll be okay. It'll be the last day. I am trying not to like feel too anxious. And I know that I'm probably going to be like a puddle and a mess after, you know, the day is over, but I'm going out with some of my friends afterwards from work, so that should be fun. Yeah, I have been trying to like plan out what I want to do later this week and how I'm going to transition myself into just working full-time for myself and how I want to organize my routine. So that still needs some work, so I'm gonna work on that. And then it's a little bit nicer today outside. It's not like a freaking blizzard, so maybe I'll go to the coffee shop later, but we'll see. Hello friends, it is Wednesday, February 19th. It's around lunchtime. I just ate, got ready. I have a call with my agent at 1 p.m., so in like 10 minutes. And then I have a couple more calls in the afternoon, just before the end of the day. And today is my first day as a unemployed slash self-employed woman, and it is very exciting, but also very terrifying. I had a great last day yesterday. I got to see a bunch of my work friends, which was really nice, and we all hung out after work. And I also roped a bunch of them into forming a book club with me, and I'm gonna be hosting a book club night with them in March, around mid-March, and we're gonna be reading Deep End, because a bunch of them had started reading it, and they were like, oh my god, and they were trying to convince like each other to read it, and I was like, I have already read it. We need to do a book club. And so that's where that started. So I'm very excited about it because yeah, I've always wanted to do a book club with like some of my friends in real life. And I'm also really excited about it because I've been thinking about making some products for Etsy that are surrounding book clubs, like book club kits or book club merch. So this is like the perfect opportunity to make something for that and also test it out. So stay tuned for that. Now, in terms of reading, I read more of Book Boyfriend last night on my Kobo. And honestly, I am like 14% through, so a few chapters in, and I'm really not feeling it. For some reason, the writing style is just not vibing with me. It feels a little bit like juvenile and just a little too extra and annoying. And like I said, it sort of got this like fake fandom in the book. And this is one of my like issues with like fake fandoms in books or like fake books within books, because since you're not actually reading that thing, and since it's fictional, like you don't have the same emotional connection to it. So although it's trying to like imitate something in real life, there's not the equivalent feeling. And I am just not really liking the main character, and I'm not really seeing the chemistry between the characters. It's essentially like this situation where, you know, she works in publishing, she gets broken up with, she has this nemesis at work named Scott, and he like hates romance and like fantasy books and romantasy books, and she loves romantasy books, and she's obsessed with this romantasy series, but it's like kind of unclear whether it's like a romantasy series or if it's a full-on fantasy. It seems more like a full-on fantasy, but it seems like there's a lot of like romancy fans, like there's a lot of investment in the lore, but then it seems very focused on the romance, and I'm like, that doesn't seem like a real thing. Because all the romantasy fans that I know are obsessed with just the romance part. Like they like the fantasy element, but they're not like obsessed with the fantasy element in the sense of like being obsessed with like the lore and all of that. So that was feeling a little strange. And then she also goes to this like week-long retreat thing or experience thing that is like a real life experience of the book and of the book series. And it's not clear whether like the book series is finished, if there's like spin-off series, and whether it's like an ongoing series. I feel like that was unclear. And from where I am right now, like he is at the experience and she's trying to figure out why. And then I ended up like searching through other NetGalley reviews because I honestly just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, I just need to see like where this is going to go. And basically I saw in like one of the reviews that the reason he's there is because he's like sick and tired of superficial relationships and he wants to become a proper like book boyfriend. And I was like, but why? Like that doesn't really make sense. And honestly, I didn't feel like there was chemistry between the characters because it's very obvious that like they don't really respect or like each other before the book starts. And it's like, yes, there's the concept of like rivals to lovers and enemies to lovers, but I feel like you have to at least respect each other. But like this is a man who like constantly was belittling her reading choices, and I feel like that's just not attractive, even if he's like redeeming himself later or things change. And obviously she's got her own like flaws and she is like expecting a, you know, fantasy romance and has all of these like high expectations that just aren't realistic. But I feel like it's just so exaggerated, or she's just not a character I really like vibe with. Like she's just a little too white and there's not much like substance to her, I feel like, aside from like having a personality of liking books, and that's not really a personality. So while she is like kind of interesting and a bit funny, she's like a little too much. I don't know, something about it. Like I'm not liking him either. So this isn't the case of me just not liking the main character, like the female character. I personally love unlikable main characters, but she's just boring. And yeah, I wasn't vibing with it. And this is the year that I'm going to be like so ruthless about DNFing so that I'm not wasting my time on things. So I DNF'd Book Boyfriend, not feeling it. We'll see if I end up picking up the breakup tour, but I did read some other reviews that said that it was similarly like heavy-handed with like the fandom element, just like in Book Boyfriend, which I'm really not liking. So we'll see if I end up reading that one. In good news though, I am loving Between Friends and Lovers. I adore both of our main characters. I love the chemistry between them. I love the complicated situation because she's sort of in love with her best friend, and there's these chats about like their careers and what they want out of life, and them sort of helping each other out with their own respective like ventures. And it's just really cute and also just really beautifully written. I am so curious to see what's going to happen with the main character and Mal. Like I'm very invested in their story, and the audiobook's fantastic as well. So this one definitely feels like it's going to be a hit, and I feel like I can finish it sometime today, so I'm very excited. I do have another book I need to read for a sponsorship, so that needs to fit in somewhere today, and I'll probably have to finish Sweet Vengeance later this week, so this vlog might go a little bit longer, but that's okay. I also want to give you like a sneak peek into like just my new routine, so we'll see if that's possible. But yeah, I feel like we're getting a nice sort of mix of romances here, and I'm curious to see where we go. Okay, it's a few days later. It's Saturday, February 22nd, and I think I'm gonna end the vlog today here because I finished Between Friends and Lovers by Charlene Obu Obi, and I love this, guys. Definitely a like 4.5 or 5 stars. It was so beautifully done. I love the characters. Although I'm usually not a fan of love triangles, I really liked how it was done in this book and just the way that it was like dealt with by the end. And it definitely wasn't like the typical way that love triangles are usually done. Beyond the love triangle thing, the other things that I really loved about this book that felt like very unique to it were, one, the depression rep for the main character and just her dealing with like the different parts of her jobs and trying to figure out what she wants to do and seeing what she likes about each thing, and potentially working towards something pretty unconventional, because I feel like there is very often narratives of like careers in books and media, but very rarely do we get like an unconventional career that mixes multiple careers together. So I really like the resolution at the end of this book. And then I also really love the narration from both our main character and also Mal, our main love interest. I did at one point think that we were going to get a perspective chapter from Ezra. I feel like that would have been slightly interesting in a way, especially towards the end, but I feel like the story is not really about him, it's about her and about her relationship with Mal. And I really appreciated Mal's perspective chapters. I love the way that the author wrote his chapters and just his voice, and also just him figuring out this relationship and what to do and how to be with Josephine. I love that we were seeing him try to unlearn the bad habits from his previous relationship and try to show up better for Josephine, and how he was trying deliberately not to like idealize her and try not to like do too much, I think. If you've read this book, you may remember the love bombing thing, which I think was a little bit too early. However, I got over it because of the way that Mal conducted himself afterwards. I do think things moved pretty fast in terms of the relationship in this book, but I did enjoy that we didn't have like a third act breakup and that things were more sort of unique and interesting. So yeah, definitely a really great book. Like, it's not necessarily a contemporary fiction, though it's almost there. It is still very much a romance because we get these like feelings from both characters, and the romance is very much a strong main factor. But there was so much else to it in terms of like the character growth for all of the characters, and I just really appreciated that. So definitely a new favorite, like definitely a new favorite romance, because I feel like it's just unique and not like anything I've read before, and it's definitely up there for me. In some ways, I enjoyed this more than Deep End because obviously it's like a more mature story. It doesn't deal with like college students, but I think I was drawn to each of them for different reasons. Like, this one was more mature and like serious, but also funny in certain aspects and had more character growth, whereas Deep End was on the like fun, guilty pleasure side of things. So yeah, each one had its draws. I ended up only finishing those two books. I did not end up finishing Sweet Vengeance. I think with that one, I'm just not really motivated to keep reading for some reason. I may DNF it, though I feel like I'm just not in the mood for it right now, so I may come back to it later. Another factor for me finishing these two books that I did finish was simply the audiobook. Like, I had the audiobook for each of them and I had the physical copy, so it made it really easy to just keep reading, whereas with the other books, I don't. So yeah, we'll see. I may pick up the rest of the books from this list at some point later. I do have an audiobook for The Roommate Risk, but I just don't feel like reading it right now, so I think I'm going to put it off for later. I have a bunch of other vlogs that I need to work on. I'm filming a couple videos today, but overall, I'm feeling really good. This is like the end of the first week, partial week, on my own, self-employed, working for myself, and it's been interesting. Like, I'm trying to juggle, you know, my time and just the different things I have to do. I'm actually quite astounded that I was able to do so much while still working a full-time job. It wasn't healthy for sure, and I was definitely so burnt out. And even these first few days as like a full-time content creator, I am feeling how much less burnt out. Like, I am, you know, working a lot, and often I'm working past 5 and I have a lot of things on the go. However, I am not feeling as like anxious and tired because this is the main thing I'm focusing on. And I've been waking up earlier in the morning because I'm just more motivated to like work and, you know, do things that I enjoy. So it's been really nice. Obviously, this may not last forever, and I am okay with that. Like, I'm not so deluded to think that people are always going to be interested in me or want this out of me. And that was part of the reason why I got a corporate job out of, you know, university, and I didn't just sort of do the like more convenient thing with jumping into content creation like when I lived at home and when I didn't have as many expenses as well. It was simply because I like the steadiness of my full-time job, but I also just wanted to like build up other skills outside of this so that if I ever needed a safety net, I would have that. And now I feel so confident doing this, I think, because if it ever doesn't work out, I know I have other skills that I can lean on and that I can use to, you know, move things around and support myself. So yeah, it's been an interesting experience. Like, this was only possible because of, you know, multiple years of therapy, being on medication now. I do want to underscore the fact that I am only able to do this now, I think, because I feel more steady on my medication and I am no longer at the whims of my mental illness as strongly as I used to be. And that's a huge factor because when your mental health is suffering so extremely, it's very hard to do things like this where you have to put on a face or act, you know, engaged, or even just, you know, manage your own hours. And when you can't, you know, just stop and know that you still have like a steady paycheck or something. But my point is just that Just because I'm doing this doesn't mean everyone needs to do this, and I think there is a over romanticization of like quitting your 9 to 5 and like doing the business thing and whatever. I think it just really comes down to the person and your circumstances and what is possible for you, and being very real with yourself on what you can do and what is going to be beneficial to you and your mental health and your finances. Like, there's so many factors. I'm just really, really grateful to be able to do this, and I'm so, so grateful to all of you for being here, for watching, for subscribing, for just being wonderful, wonderful people who watch my videos and just share your love of books. And I hope that I can continue to bring you like fun and exciting content and good recommendations, and that for as long as you are willing to have me, I can do this for you. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please go follow my Instagram and my TikTok. It would really help me out if you do. I post a lot of other content on there, including shorter book recommendations and just life things, so definitely go check that out. And as always, thank you so much to my Bindery members for supporting me and my channel and making all of this possible. There's so many new people on the Bindery community, which I'm so excited for. And if you missed it, I actually have lots of new perks on my Bindery community, including a monthly book club and monthly live streams and so much more. So if you haven't already, go check out my Bindery community. And if you are so inclined, you can support me and my channel and become a paid member and get all of those like extra perks. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video, and please remember that this story ain't over. Bye.